I wasn't supposed to stay in that house after midnight. The man at the gas station told me that twice, then a third time when I laughed it off. People who stay, he said, his voice low, don't come back the same. I thought he was just trying to scare me. I really wish he was. I had been driving for almost 6 hours when I first saw the house. It stood alone, far from the main road, surrounded by a forest so dense it almost looked like the trees were trying to hide it. My GPS had already lost signal 10 minutes ago and my phone battery was at 3%. I didn't have many options left, so when I saw a narrow dirt path leading toward that old, abandoned-looking house, I turned without thinking twice. The place looked wrong, not just old or empty. There was something about it that felt like it didn't belong there. The windows were dark, but not the kind of darkness you expect at night. It felt deeper, like something was watching from inside. Still, I told myself I was just tired. I parked the car near the broken wooden fence and stepped out. The silence hit me immediately. No insects, no wind, nothing, just silence. I grabbed my bag, locked the car, and walked toward the front door. It creaked open before I even touched it. That should have been my first sign to leave. But I didn't. Inside, the air was cold and smelled like dust and something rotten. I pulled out my phone, using the last bit of battery as a flashlight. The beam shook slightly in my hand as I stepped inside. The floorboards groaned under my weight, echoing through the empty halls. I called out, no answer. Of course, there was no answer. I walked further in, trying to find a place to rest. The living room was barely intact, torn furniture, broken glass, and walls covered in dark stains that I didn't want to think about. But there was a couch, old, dirty, but usable. I dropped my bag and sat down, letting out a long breath. My body ached from the drive and exhaustion was starting to take over. That's when I heard it, a sound, upstairs. It was faint, like something dragging across the floor. I froze. Maybe it was an animal, I told myself. A raccoon or something, yeah, that had to be it. Then it stopped. For a moment, everything went silent again. And then footsteps, slow, heavy, walking from one end of the upper floor to the other. I stood up immediately. I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. If someone's here, I'm just staying the night. The footsteps stopped. Right above me, I held my breath. Seconds passed, maybe a minute. Then a loud bang from upstairs. I flinched. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I shouldn't have gone up there. Every instinct told me to grab my bag, get in the car, and leave. But instead, I picked up my phone and walked toward the stairs. Stairs creaked under my weight as I slowly made my way up, each step sounding louder than it should have in that unnatural silence. My phone's dim light barely reached the top, and the darkness there felt thicker, almost alive, as if it was waiting for me to come closer. The air grew colder with every step, and by the time I reached the top, I could see my own breath. The hallway stretched in two directions, both equally dark, both equally wrong, and for a moment I just stood there listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, no sound at all. It was as if whatever had been there knew I was coming and decided to hide. I turned left first, moving slowly, trying not to make noise, though the floor betrayed me with every step. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, stained and torn, and there were marks on them that didn't look like time or damage. They looked like scratches, long, uneven, like something had dragged its fingers across the walls over and over again. I tried not to think about it. I really did. At the end of the hallway, there was a door slightly open, just enough to reveal complete darkness inside. I stopped in front of it, my hand hovering near the handle, my heart beating so fast it made my vision blur for a second. I told myself again it was probably just an animal, something harmless, something normal. But nothing about that house felt normal. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. At least, that's what I thought at first. Just an old bed frame, a broken chair, and a window covered with something that looked like black cloth nailed into the wall. My phone light flickered once, then steadied again. I stepped inside slowly, scanning every corner. That's when I noticed the floor. There were marks, fresh ones, not dust, not old stains. These looked recent, like something had been dragged across the floor recently. The trail started near the bed and led toward the closet. I didn't want to look. Every part of me screamed not to. But I still did. I walked toward the closet, each step heavier than the last, and reached for the door. For a second, I just stood there, hand on the handle, trying to calm my breathing. Then I pulled it open, empty, nothing inside. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, almost laughing at myself. "You're just tired," I whispered under my breath, shaking my head. "That's all this is." Then the door behind me slammed shut hard. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot, and I spun around instantly, my phone light shaking violently in my hand. The door was closed, completely shut. I knew I hadn't closed it. I was sure of it. I rushed toward it and grabbed the handle. It didn't move. I pulled harder, still nothing. Panic started rising in my chest, sharp and suffocating, as I tried again and again, but the door wouldn't budge. It felt like something was holding it from the other side. And then I heard it breathing. Right behind me, not loud, not aggressive, slow, calm, almost patient. I froze. I didn't turn around immediately. I couldn't. My body refused to move, my mind racing, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. The breathing got closer, so close I could feel it against the back of my neck. And then, very slowly, something brushed against my shoulder. I turned. There was nothing there. But the closet door, the one I had just opened, was now slightly ajar again. And from inside that darkness, something moved. For a second I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe properly. My eyes locked onto the closet as that slight movement inside repeated again. This time slower, more deliberate, like whatever was in there knew I was watching. My hand tightened around the phone as the light trembled, barely illuminating the darkness inside. And I realized something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't empty anymore. I didn't see a full shape, not clearly, but there was depth where there shouldn't be. A shadow darker than the darkness around it, shifting just enough to confirm it wasn't my imagination. I took a step back without thinking, and the floor creaked loudly beneath me, the sound echoing like a signal, like I had just announced exactly where I was. The thing inside the closet reacted instantly. The movement stopped. The breathing stopped. Everything stopped. And somehow that silence was worse than anything else. I swallowed hard and forced myself to move toward the door again, grabbing the handle with both hands this time and pulling with everything I had, panic giving me strength, but it still didn't open. It felt sealed, like it had fused with the frame. I slammed my shoulder into it once, twice, the impact sending pain through my body, but it didn't even shake. Behind me, the closet door creaked wider. I didn't want to look, but I could hear it now. A faint dragging sound, something shifting, something unfolding itself slowly, like it had been cramped in there for a long time and was finally stretching out. My breathing turned uneven as I pressed my back against the door, eyes fixed forward, refusing to turn around, but the sound kept getting closer. A soft scrape against the floor, then another, followed by something that almost sounded like fingers tapping lightly against wood. It was circling me. I could feel it. Not physically, not directly, but there was a presence moving in the room, adjusting, observing, waiting. My phone light flickered again, this time longer, plunging the room into near darkness for a second before coming back. And in that single moment without light, I heard something right next to my ear, a whisper. Not a word I could understand, not a language I recognized, just a low, broken sound like someone trying to remember how to speak. I flinched hard and turned instantly, swinging the light toward where I thought it came from, but again there was nothing there. The room looked empty, completely empty. The closet door was fully open now, revealing only darkness, deep and endless, like it went far beyond the small space it should have been. I shook my head, trying to stay grounded, trying to think logically, but logic had no place there anymore. Then the door behind me unlocked. I didn't hesitate this time. I grabbed the handle and pulled, and it opened immediately, like nothing had been holding it before. I stumbled out into the hallway, nearly dropping my phone as I caught myself, and slammed the door shut behind me without looking back. My heart was racing uncontrollably now, my hands shaking so badly I could barely keep the light steady, but I didn't stop moving. I just needed to get downstairs, get out of that house, get as far away from that room as possible. I rushed down the hallway, but something felt wrong almost immediately. The layout, it wasn't the same. I stopped for a split second, turning the light around, and realized the corridor looked longer than before. The walls stretched further, the end of the hall farther away than it should have been. The door I had come from was gone, completely gone. In its place was just more wall, the same peeling wallpaper, the same scratch marks. No, 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 I muttered under my breath, backing up slowly, my mind struggling to catch up with what I was seeing. This wasn't possible. I had just come out of that room. A door slammed somewhere behind me, then another, and another. The sound echoed through the entire floor, one after the other, like every door in the house was being shut at once. I spun around, trying to track the noise, but it came from everywhere, surrounding me, trapping me in that endless hallway. Then the footsteps started again, this time not above me, all around me. The footsteps didn't have a single direction anymore. They echoed from every side at once, fast, slow, near, far, like the house itself was moving around me, reshaping, closing in. I turned in place, trying to focus, trying to find the stairs. But the hallway only stretched further no matter which way I looked. The walls felt tighter now, the air heavier, harder to breathe, like something unseen was pressing down on my chest. I started walking, then faster, then almost running, choosing a direction without thinking, just trying to get away from the sound. But it followed me, matching my pace perfectly, never getting closer, never falling behind. My phone light flickered again, longer this time, and when it came back, the hallway had changed. The walls were darker, the scratches deeper, more aggressive, as if something had been clawing at them in desperation. Some of the marks looked fresh, like they had just been made moments ago. I kept moving, my steps uneven, my breath sharp and loud in my ears, but then I saw something ahead that made me stop instantly. At the far end of the corridor, barely visible in the dim light, there was a figure standing still. It wasn't moving, it wasn't breathing, it was just there. At first, I thought it was another person, maybe someone else trapped like me, but something about the way it stood felt wrong. Its posture was stiff, unnatural, like its body didn't quite understand how to hold itself. I raised the phone slightly, trying to get a clearer look, and that's when I realized its head was tilted at an angle no human neck could hold. My stomach dropped instantly, and I took a slow step back. The figure moved, not forward, not backward, just a small shift, like it had adjusted its weight, but it was enough. Enough to confirm it wasn't something normal, wasn't something I could explain. I turned around immediately and started running in the opposite direction, not caring anymore where I was going, just needing to put distance between me and that thing. The footsteps behind me exploded into motion, no longer calm or slow, but fast, erratic, chasing. The hallway twisted again. Doors appeared where there were none before, some slightly open, some completely shut, and as I passed them, I could hear sounds from inside. Whispering, scratching, soft knocking like something trapped on the other side, begging to be let out. I didn't stop. I didn't look. I just ran. Then suddenly I saw it, the stairs, at the end of the hall, exactly where they should have been from the beginning. Relief hit me so hard it almost made me collapse, but I forced myself forward, pushing through the fear, the confusion, the exhaustion. The footsteps were right behind me now, so close I could almost feel something reaching for me, something just inches away. I grabbed the railing and practically threw myself down the stairs, nearly slipping as I rushed to the bottom. My legs shook as I landed, but I didn't stop. I ran straight toward the front door, my eyes locked on it like it was the only real thing left in that nightmare. I reached for the handle and pulled. It didn't open. No, no, I whispered, pulling harder, my hand slipping slightly as panic surged again. I slammed my shoulder into it, just like upstairs, over and over, but the door didn't move. It felt exactly the same, sealed, locked. Impossible. Behind me, something reached the top of the stairs. I didn't turn around immediately. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to know how close it was, but I could hear it now, clearer than before. Not just footsteps, limbs, too many of them, moving in ways that didn't match any human rhythm, hitting the wood in uneven patterns. Slowly I turned. It was standing at the top of the stairs, partially hidden in the darkness, but this time I could see more of it. Its body was wrong, stretched in places it shouldn't be, its arms too long, hanging almost to the floor, its head still tilted but now twitching slightly like it was trying to straighten itself but couldn't. And its face. I couldn't see details, but I could feel it looking directly at me. Then it started coming down, not walking, crawling fast. It moved faster than anything I had ever seen, its limbs hitting the stairs in a chaotic rhythm, each impact echoing through the house like something breaking, something snapping under pressure. I didn't think anymore. I didn't try to understand. I just turned back to the door and pulled again with everything I had, my hands slipping, my breath breaking into short, desperate gasps. The wood didn't move, the handle didn't turn. It was like trying to open something that didn't exist anymore. Behind me, the sound of it getting closer grew louder, sharper, until it was no longer just sound but presence, heavy and suffocating, pressing into my back. I slammed my shoulder into the door again, ignoring the pain shooting through my arm, then again, and again, each hit weaker than the last as panic drained whatever strength I had left. Open. I shouted, my voice cracking, but the house didn't respond. It never did. It just watched, listened, waited. The movement behind me suddenly stopped. That silence returned, worse than before, slowly, painfully slowly. I turned my head just enough to look over my shoulder. It was right there. Only a few steps away now, crouched low, its body twisted unnaturally, its long arms spread across the floor like it was holding itself in place. This close, I could finally see its face, or at least what should have been a face. There were no clear features, just a pale surface stretched too tight like skin pulled over something that didn't fit beneath it. But where the eyes should have been, there was darkness. Not empty sockets, just darkness. Deep, endless darkness. It tilted its head further as I looked at it, the motion slow, curious, almost interested. Then it began to rise. Its limbs unfolded one by one with soft cracking sounds, extending higher than any human body should until it stood there, towering, its head nearly touching the ceiling. The air around me felt colder instantly, my breath visible again as I stumbled back against the door, trapped, nowhere left to go. And then it took a step forward. The floor beneath it groaned, the sound deep and strained, like the house itself didn't want to support its weight. Another step, closer. I could feel something pressing into my mind now. Not a voice, not words, but a feeling heavy and invasive, like it was reaching inside me, searching, learning. I squeezed my eyes shut for a second, trying to block it out, trying to think of anything else, anywhere else, but it didn't stop. It got stronger, closer. Look back. The thought appeared in my head suddenly, clear and sharp like it wasn't mine. Look back. I opened my eyes again, my breathing uneven, my vision blurring at the edges. The thing was right in front of me now, so close I could almost touch it. Its arms slowly lifted, bending in the wrong direction as it reached toward my face, the movement slow, deliberate. Look back. I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I listened. Instead of watching it, instead of focusing on that thing in front of me, I turned my gaze slightly, just enough to look past it toward the darkness behind it. And that's when I saw something else. The door. Not the one behind me. Another one far behind it, barely visible, like it was hidden inside the darkness itself. A normal door, slightly open, a way out. The thing in front of me twitched suddenly, its arm stopping midair as if it realized what I had seen. The pressure in my head intensified instantly, sharp, almost painful now, like it was trying to force me to look back at it, to focus only on it. Look back. I moved fast. I pushed myself off the door behind me and ran straight forward, directly toward the thing. For a split second, I thought I was going to collide with it, but as I got closer, its shape seemed to distort, stretching, bending like it wasn't fully there, like it existed between something real and something else. I passed through it. The cold hit me instantly, like walking through ice, and for a brief moment everything went dark. Then I was on the other side. The hallway was different, narrower, quieter. The door I had seen was right in front of me now, just a few steps away. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I ran straight to it, grabbed the handle and pulled. This time, it opened. I didn't slow down after I stepped through that door. The moment it opened, I stumbled forward and nearly fell onto the cold ground outside, my hands scraping against gravel as I caught myself. The air hit different out there, real, breathable, not heavy like inside the house. For a second, I just stayed there on my knees, trying to process what had just happened, my heart still racing like it was trying to escape my chest. Then survival instinct took over again, and I forced myself up, turned, and ran straight to my car. My hands shook so badly I could barely get the keys in, but after a few failed attempts, the engine finally started. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the broken fence, the narrow dirt path, and for a brief moment, the house. I froze. It looked normal, just an old, abandoned building. Silent, empty, Like nothing had ever happened inside, I didn't wait to question it. I slammed the gas and drove, the tires slipping slightly on the dirt before catching grip. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to risk seeing anything following me. I just drove faster and faster until the house disappeared completely behind the trees. After what felt like forever, I reached the main road again. Streetlights appeared one by one, and with them, a sense of reality slowly started to return. My breathing calmed slightly, my grip on the steering wheel loosened just a bit. I kept telling myself it was over, that I had made it out, that whatever was in that house couldn't leave it. That thought stayed with me until I stopped at a gas station. It was the same one I had passed earlier. The same man was still there, standing outside like he hadn't moved at all. As I stepped out of the car, he looked at me, his expression unreadable, but there was something in his eyes this time. Not surprise, not confusion, recognition. "You went in, didn't you?" he said quietly. I didn't answer right away. I just nodded slowly, still trying to steady my voice, still trying to convince myself I was safe now. He took a step closer, lowering his voice even more. "Did you look back?" The question caught me off guard. "No," I said quickly. "I mean, I don't think so." Stared at me for a long second, then exhaled softly, shaking his head just a little. "Then it saw you." A cold feeling ran through me instantly. "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But he didn't answer. Instead, his eyes shifted slightly, moving past me toward my car. I turned slowly. At first, I didn't see anything. The car looked exactly as I left it. Headlights still on, engine running. Everything normal. Then I noticed the inside. The light from the dashboard faintly illuminated the back seat. And in that dim glow, there was a shape sitting there, perfectly still. My breath caught in my throat as my mind tried to deny what my eyes were seeing, tried to turn it into something else, something logical, something safe. But deep down, I already knew. I never looked back in that house. But something followed me out anyway. And now, it knows where I live.